Okay, so here we are. We are going to start talking about the Power Rangers live action movie that, is in theaters still, sort of.
In discount theaters.
Yes.
But no, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he likes it more than me because he's a big fan of the franchise, but it was okay. I enjoyed it.
Being with the franchise for pretty much, it's like 25, almost 25 years now. Like it was in 93. So
I used to watch it when I was like 3 or 4 too, but it was so long ago that now when I look back at the old episodes, I'm like, eh. But yeah, the movie was definitely improvement on that.
It's definitely a modern superhero movie take on what is a ridiculous concept. 5 teenagers in tightly fitting spandex fighting ridiculous villains.
Yeah, actually another thing I'm going to mention that I noticed at least part of the movie where they first get their powers and whatnot, that scene really reminded me of Chronicle. You know, the movie that Josh Trank made before he made Fan 4-Stick?
But it starts out with a flashback, basically, to the Cenozoic era.
Yeah,
where
dinosaurs.
Yeah, the original Red Ranger is badly beaten up. You can see that his helmet is broken, his visor, and he's basically crawling, and he crawls to the Yellow Ranger, and she gives him her power coin, and then dies.
Yeah.
And at that point he has all 5 power coins because he takes his power coin out, powers down, and he plants them in the ground, hoping that telling them to find the next generation, basically. I was tempted to throw in a Star Wars Next Generation joke there, but
Star Trek,
damn it, Star Trek. But at that point he tells Alpha 5 in his alien language, which is their version of whatever generic alien language,
to launch the meteor because KT extinctions are also a cliche in these kinds of movies. Apparently, every big budget adaptation movie ever has to have a scene where apparently the characters of the movie killed the dinosaurs. Just the Bayformers did it. Futurama did it. I mean,
but at this point he's trying to.
Jupiter Ascending did it.
At this point he's trying to kill Rita.
Yeah.
Who was. This is a completely different twist than any Rita backstory I know, but it turns out she was the Green Ranger of that team, and she went power hungry, and
turned to the dark side.
And she decided, and they've been in a great battle, so the meteor hits, Zordon dies, Rita dies.
70% of life on Earth dies, so I'm thinking, after the movie, okay, so you did that to keep Rita from destroying all life on Earth, but way to go, you destroyed most of it.
Zordon, the original suicide bomber. So the power coins have been stuck in the Earth, the 5 of them, and it cuts to present-day Angel Grove, which in this version isn't so much a metropolis as a small fishing village.
Yeah, again, a lot of the references I didn't get because I'm not as familiar with the franchise as he is, but
there were 2 main references that you wouldn't notice. He was the main character. One of the characters, Jason, his father, was I'm trying to remember. I think he was at a crosswalk of streets, and there was Mariner Bay and Reefside. Now, Mariner Bay is from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, was the main town of those guys, and Reefside is from Power Rangers Dino Thunder, was the main town those 3 lived in, like Reefside High School, that kind of thing. Which I found amusing. This is the second time I've seen it, and I didn't make the connection the first time because I wasn't paying enough attention. I wasn't really listening to what he was doing. I was more focused on the visuals. But
yeah, so as I said, it sort of opens up with
the first basically most of the movie is introducing the 5 characters: Jason, Kimberly, Zach, Billy, and Trini.
So yeah, it starts basically with Jason, the who becomes a Red Ranger, I think. He, it starts as a typical high school, college rebel, you know,
Yeah,
playing
high
a
school.
prank on his.
He's supposed
School.
to be 16.
It's high school then.
Yes. Him and a friend are bringing in a cow into basically a men's locker room.
Yeah.
And they're trying to leave it there.
But then the cops show up and he has to do this sort of like
getaway.
Yeah, but something I will note is that I didn't see this camera technique used anywhere else in the movie except for this one scene where it's this one continuous shot of the camera from inside the car, just spinning around as he's trying to escape, and all the cops are trying to box him in, and then he crashes.
It's a bit disorienting.
Yeah, but I just found that a unique shot that you don't often see, especially in movies like this, and they never used a shot like that again. Interestingly enough.
And right before that, they had the first bit of cheese in the movie where Jason's friend says he tried to milk a male cow.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Masturbation jokes, people. That's what we've come to. Luckily, that's the only one.
Yeah. It really did look like it came out of a completely different movie. The very first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie looked like it was going to be a raunchy, college comedy movie, but it thankfully didn't stay that way.
But this is all to set up Jason going to detention, where he meets Billy and Kimberly.
Yeah, Billy, as you pointed out, is
and also as he pointed out himself,
yes,
is on the autism spectrum.
So Aspie, I'm guessing.
He's sitting there with his pencils all in order.
And then of course, obligatory generic bully character just there to be hated.
He's basically a reference to Bulk and Skull from the original show. He starts poking fun at Billy, snapping his pencils. He knocked them on the floor, and then Jason comes over. He's like, boom, back in.
Yeah, and it's like, did you just slap me? And
Jason's like, yeah, I did.
I did.
And then tells the bully to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Kimberly runs off to the bathroom because
she got a text because
her own plot of being a mean girl and being and her cheerleader.
Yeah.
And 2 of her cheerleader friends come in, which is her character from the original was a cheerleader, so that's something they kept the same. Jason, they didn't keep the same backstory for him from the original, because in the original he was a 16-year-old black belt in martial arts, obsessed with all things martial arts and working out. In this one, he's a high school former football player who decided to...
A troublemaker, basically,
who decided to destroy his career with the cow incident, and now he's basically stuck in house arrest. With also, it later shown he has an injured knee because he's wearing a knee brace.
No, that wasn't an injured knee. That was actually the...
No, he had a knee brace and a house arrest thing.
I thought both were part of the same...
That was just a knee brace.
Oh.
Because he had an injured knee, which provided...
I thought that was just part of the device.
No, that was a knee brace to indicate that he probably injured himself and then decided, well, my career's over, I might as well screw up, I think.
No, if he got a knee brace, it would have been from the car accident because he crashed the car into a wall.
That's true. But it's indicated that he did something to ruin his football career, probably the cow incident, but we don't know what led him to making that decision.
It was implied basically that he just wasn't happy in his life, so he decided to rebel. That he didn't know what it was, but something just didn't feel right, so he tried to vent out that with, doing slightly illegal things.
Yes. So then, in the Kimberly scene, basically her friends say, we're moving on without you.
Yeah.
Because of her story, she sent a pic of her friend's boyfriend. She sent a pic of her friend that hinted at is very inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
She sent it to... she sent it to her boyfriend, their friend's boyfriend, with the message, is this the girl you want to take home to dad? Basically saying her friend's a slut, in loose terms. So her friends decide, screw you, and then she takes the scissors out friend had chops her hair off because she's like, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be edgy. And then walks back in and obligatory people staring at her. So then we have the connection between Jason and Billy afterwards where Billy wants Jason's help to go somewhere.
Yeah,
But Jason-
to the mine, a gold mine, which, especially if it's a gold mine like that, I could understand if it's just a typical rock quarry, but a gold mine, you'd think that would have a lot more security than that.
Well, I don't think they said it. I think they.
It was a still active gold mine.
If it was, the town should have been a lot richer because there was apparently a lot of gold in there.
Yeah, because apparently, like later in the movie, Rita managed to make Goldar with it, which is this giant hulking monster made of solid gold.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, but Jason has obviously the security brace around his leg, which forces him to be at home at a certain time. So
a curfew.
Yeah, curfew. And Billy is like, well, I can help with that.
Yeah, he basically nerd hacks it and makes it, not work
Yeah, they
anymore.
go over his house, and then they take a van, which Kimberly points out is creepy, to the rock quarry to mine, because apparently Billy and his dad used to mine there before, I guess, his dad probably had an accident mining and passed away. There's a lot this movie doesn't tell you. Like, as much as it introduces the characters, there's a lot about their backstory it doesn't say.
Well, maybe that's a good thing. It leaves you asking questions and wanting more.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. But then we're introduced to Zach and Trini. Zach is basically hanging out at the quarry, stalking Trini. He's got freaking binoculars staring at her, being like, "What are you?
Yeah,
what even is you?"
Yeah, I'm basically thinking like, here you are again, just hanging out in this random rock quarry.
Yeah,
and
she's
like,
doing-
so are you. You don't work here, do you? So what are you doing?
He's not paying attention to the irony of that sentence. But Trini is doing basically yoga poses. She's doing like a standing tree pose, basically, in there. But they take Billy, and then Jason notices Kimberly. She's also hanging out there, and she takes her top off because
To go skinny dipping, and then
he thinks she disappears. He can't see her,
and then suddenly like he's about to start stripping down. And she's like, "Hey!"
He does his favorite thing in this movie, which is yell out somebody's name.
Billy!
Kimberly!
Billy!
Kimberly! I swear, I don't know what kind of I want to know what Dacre Montgomery got for inspiration to. Just because his favorite thing just to do is shout people's name.
Sean Conn.
Yeah. Dacre, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Dacre Montgomery. Because his first name is Dacre.
Again, you know more about the franchise than I do.
No, I mean just the actor.
I know, but even then, I didn't really study anything about the movie itself.
But then
before going into
Jason
it.
and Kimberly start having a really awkward conversation. Like it felt a really weird, stunted conversation. They're like, we know, like Kimberly's like, we know of each other, because Jason's like, I know you. Kimberly's like, we know of each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know you punched that guy. And then she's like, you see, I knocked his tooth out, and he's like, I know they put it back. And that was basically that whole conversation. Is really awkward. Like it felt like just. It felt like there should have been more, but that was just line.
Well, yeah, and then of course,
And Billy sets up
the
explosions.
explosives, yeah, to
It's just like pyromaniac. Not quite, but
Well,
close
yeah.
to it. He's obsessed with explosions. Because we find out later that that's the reason he's in detention, is because he had a
lunchbox
bomb in his
exploded.
lunchbox.
Well, like a homemade, yeah. It's like, but yeah, like, it was implied that the reason that he liked it was because his dad used to take him to the mine to look for stuff. So, and the whole time as he was setting up this thing, he was saying, "This is for you, Dad. I hope you see this."
Yeah, and Jason and Kimberly are having a conversation about running away from Angel Grove. Like, they're looking over Angel Grove, and they're like, "You want to go? Let's go." I got a van. And Kimberly's like, "You got a van? That's creepy." Jason's like, "It's not that kind of van." And Maria's like, "It's still creepy."
Or she's like, it's always that kind of van.
Oh yeah. But then Billy's having issues with the explosives. He's not setting the knobs and the wiring correctly, and he's like, and then he sets it and it goes boom, right in his face, and everyone comes running. Jason, Kimberly, Zach, and Trini.
I'm okay.
And he's like, oh, no, the knocked. Can't remember exactly what I said. Like, oh, maybe I did that a bit too hard. It discovered behind the explosion was a solid wall.
Sort of. It was like what Billy described as like a really weird form of glass.
Yeah, because it looked like that because it was sparkly, it was shiny and smooth.
Yeah, like almost like crystal.
But inside it, they see the 5 power coins.
Yeah.
And then Zach. This is my favorite part about Zach is he starts like breaking the wall, and somebody asks him, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "Yeah, I am." Like they just went with it. Like they ignore all pretenses. Like I am crazy, and then he starts digging the power coins out, and they start looking at them. But at that point, the security guards have now noticed that there was an explosion.
So they have to hightail it the hell out of there. One by one, they have to get into the van, and then
they see a train which they think they can get by, and Billy's like, I think I can.
Yeah,
and then it's like, nope.
Bang! But
the van goes spinning. It starts to rain, and then it cuts to Rita. It cuts to Rita.
Oh.
It cuts to her being basically dead on a fishing boat. There's cut to the fisherman finding her.
Yeah.
And then she's lying on the boat with her coin because she still had her Green Ranger coin, which revived her.
Yeah.
And then as it rains, it cuts to them waking up in their beds. Continue like
in typical, Superman origin story movie style.
Yeah, it shows a shot of each of them waking up and discovering that, well, A, they're still alive because it's hard to live after you've rolled over a car.
After being hit by a train.
Yeah, and 2, they have weird abilities like Jason.
This scene in particular is like this is where they really got inspiration from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie because it's just very much the same kind of.
Yeah,
suddenly now a menial task like I can break the wall and I can crush my phone. I didn't even mean to.
Yeah, because Jason wakes up and his knee brace has fallen off, and he feels his knee, and basically the power coin healed his knee injury.
Yeah.
And it also gave him a wicked 6-pack. And a lack of shirt.
Because superhero movie.
And a lack of shirt. But then he goes into the bathroom and he puts the power coin down. And this is the point where you realize the power coins have their own not complete consciousness, but they're
a mind of their own.
Yeah, they're connected to the person that grabbed them. So Jason has the red one in. He puts it down, he goes into the bathroom, and then it basically teleports into the bathroom, and he was vomiting for whatever reason. He's vomiting to the toilet. He grabs the coin, and as he grabs it, he smashes the bathroom, the edge of the sink.
Well, yeah, because he didn't mean to. Is it because he was just leaning over to puke and what the fuck? Again, very Spider-Man-esque.
Yeah.
Or Wolverine. Basically every superhero movie origin ever where they suddenly get their powers holy crap, I'm breaking everything around me.
And then it cuts to Billy in school. I can't remember if this is the last one or if it was after Kimberly's scene because it cuts to Billy and the bully.
No, actually, first it cuts to Billy in his room with his mom, and then
he rips the door off his basically a fridge.
Yeah.
And he's holding it and he's fumbling around and his mom's like, "What are you doing?"
Nothing, Mom.
I'm coming. But yeah, and it also it cuts to Kimberly and she gets messages she doesn't like.
Like one with a poop emoji because that's the new thing now, poop emoji.
The movie starring Patrick Stewart. But so she breaks her phone in one hand.
Yeah, but the thing she wasn't even meaning to do that. She's just
she's mad at her.
Yeah, she just sort of she wasn't even meaning to really squeeze it. She just slightly frustrated. She's
it breaks her phone. Also a scene of Trini. No, that was later. But I'm thinking of the scene where her family at the table.
Oh yeah, no,
No, that's later.
yeah,
but
no, but that it actually, I think it comes back to Billy again.
Yeah.
But now he's at school, but then
and then a bully, the same
again,
bully.
very Spider-Man-esque,
Yeah.
where the same bully comes up to him and decides, I'm gonna silently break your wrist.
He
And-
knocks his notebook out of his hand. I can just break your wrist, and then he can't. And then he goes to headbutt Billy, and
and just
he knocks himself out. And people turn around like, "Oh snap! Billy Cranston just knocked the guy out." There was also earlier in the detention scene a really forced joke where Billy's like introducing himself to Jason. He's like, "I'm Billy Cranston. The kids used to call me Billy Cramston because crams a ton of crayons in my butt," which really felt forced and felt nowhere like it did not come out of the original cartoon. Nobody ever made fun of Billy in the original cartoon. Like he was just the nerdy. Like sure, Bulk and Skull picked on him, but it wasn't for anything. He was like, it wasn't because of his name. Like that felt like absolutely out of nowhere. But yeah, and so now Billy's the popular kid in school. And he's just talking to everyone. He's like, "If you must come at me, then come at me, bro." That was basically his catchphrase.
Well, yeah, that's what he tried to make his catchphrase. I don't think he actually said it ever again.
No, he said it in the Megazord fight.
Oh, okay.
In the Zord battle.
Yeah, I didn't catch
When
that
when he's about to when they run into fight Goldar, he's like, "If you must come at me, bro." But so then Jason and Kimberly meet up with Billy, and their power coins start going crazy. They start basically heating up the metal that is their
the cafeteria table and
Yeah.
and like all the trays are melting and all the soda pops are exploding and like
setting off the carbon dioxide.
well yeah, this didn't look like plausible physics at all.
They're just showing that the coins had some kind of weird power.
Yeah.
And then they decide to go back to the quarry, and Zach and Trini obviously are there because that's where they are most of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they decide they're just gonna Trini randomly decides she's gonna crawl up a wall for more Spider-Man references.
Exactly.
The director of this, I believe his name was Ben Israel. I feel like he took way too many inspirations from Spider-Man.
And he even had Billy pointed out that I kind of feel like I've been bit by a radioactive spider.
Even though I feel fine. Are we superheroes? Are we more like Iron Man or Spider-Man?
Because I kind of feel like I've been bitten by a radioactive spider.
And that's hilarious that in Spider-Man Civil War, Spider-Man is friends with Iron Man.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why it was why they made that reference. You know, cashing in.
But they all meet up at the quarry, and they're all doing it's just a show. This just show off their powers.
And basically, this is where it really starts to turn into a Chronicle for a little bit, because then they start wandering around, and then they jump into the first they start doing Matrix stuff, where it's jump across an impossibly long distance, and very Matrix.
Yeah, and Billy's the last one, and he's standing there calculating how far the jump is, how far the fall is.
And also
just nerdy stuff.
Calculating how many people will miss him if he dies.
Yes. It's just his mom.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, maybe she can find somebody new. But it's back and forth. And then he decides to jump, and he makes it. But then in his excitement, he stumbles backwards and falls down.
And then more yelling his name.
Yes, this is the second time where Jason's like, Billy!
And they're all like, Billy, Billy!
And somehow you can hear Billy telling them to come down, even though it's determined that the chasm is gigantic.
Well, you could make the argument that since they got their superpowers, they could have superpower voice carrying.
But
they could sound to yell really loud.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just, and then Zach's like, see you guys on the other side. And he just jumps down. I like Jason, he just goes, whoop! He just goes like that. He literally just jumps down.
Yeah.
And then and that was one of my favorite scenes with Kimberly. She's like, can I have a sip of your water? And to Trini. And then she's like, sorry. And Trini's like, for what? And he's like, for this! And then basically grabs her around the waist and then pulls her into the jump. It's like, oh.
Then they go into the water at the bottom, which they start spending a few seconds just enjoying that. But then there's hey, there's something else down here. So they're like,
This
So
was
let's all
also
start diving down deep into the water.
this was also a reference directly ripped from the show, because this is to be extremely weird. At the end of Mighty Morphin, the command center is blown up. So at the start of Zeo, they're in the rubble of the command center, and at some point they get lowered down into a lower level, and as they walk, there's a wall where it's actually it's basically the same thing where they walk through it because it's not a solid material, and they walk into the command center, a secret room in the command center.
Yeah.
This was basically the same homaging that, but like them going down through the water.
And sort of a vibe I got from that is like, oh great, they're going into the Phantom Menace.
Honestly, through the commercials made it look like this scene was the first instance the Rangers saw Rita, because like there were scenes of clipped together where it looked like they were looking through the water, and then Rita was looking on the other side at them, like in the promos for the movie. But no, they find the spaceship.
Yeah.
They find Alpha 5,
Mm-hmm.
who is just as freaky as he was in.
Yeah,
in
he
Ringo.
has little nebulas in his brain and his eyes. I can understand the brain maybe because like the hologram computer, but why the eyes?
And then he just proceeds to whack Zack into basically a long corridor. Like he just hits him and he goes flying. And Alpha has tentacle arms, which is not creepy in the least, and is not hentai in the least. But Alpha 5, played by Bill Maher, I think, I can't remember who he's from. I think he's from, the first thing that comes to mind is Office, but I don't think he's from the American Office.
Anyway, regardless, they're
But
inside the spaceship now that
Yeah,
crashed
they use
millions
it
of years ago, and exposition.
Alpha 5
it's like, hey, come meet Zordon. Oh wait, you don't know Zordon yet.
Yeah, Alpha 5 explains his name. I can't remember. Something android.
Yeah, because acronyms.
Yeah. Which his name was just Alpha in the original. Like there was it wasn't an acronym. It was just Alpha.
Every modern movie now needs to have an acronym.
Also, Alpha wasn't just his name. It was the line of robots that made him. Like there was Alpha 6, Alpha 7 later in the show. But he says the iconic I. But much less annoying than the original. I.
It was more like I.
It was more. Oh damn it! It's the equivalent of damn it.
Yeah, like
So the Rangers, obviously confused by this at this point,
like
they're trying to run away because that's the sensible thing. Like that thing. Like obviously you run away when you see something.
Run away. But yeah,
he's trying to. He's keeping them there. There's a giant space, like a giant open space. In the middle is this flashing lights, and around it are 5 foot panels, basically.
Yeah.
Where Alpha 5 tells them to step on them. It's hilarious because apparently this is the viewing globe for in the original. In the command center, they had an actual spinning globe which had pictures of what was going on in the outside world, like showing them Rita or showing them where a monster's attacking.
Yeah.
This was apparently the viewing globe in this version of the movie. So they step on the 5 panels, and they turn on Zordon.
Yeah, which
who's the giant head in the wall of the stuff that you press and makes an indent of your hand.
Yeah.
Basically, is the material they used for this Zordon.
And it looked very CGI, but
The original was basically CGI.
Well, not even that.
No, they filmed the original actor who did the voice of Zordon in a very few amount of expressions, and then they just threw constant clips of that, which made it
Too much pink energy is dangerous.
Which did not fit with the lines he was saying, so his facial expressions didn't match what his mouth was doing in the original.
Not enough special effects budget is dangerous.
But Zordon appears, and he's basically suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from dying.
Well, yeah.
But he's still speaking in his alien language, and he's speaking to Alpha, and he's like, What is going on? What? And Alpha has to explain to him, he transferred his consciousness into the matrix of the ship. Obligatory Matrix shout-out. Reference.
There is no spoon.
But the controls of the ship... Yeah. Just to keep Zordon alive. But now And it's funny, they keep speaking alien, and he's like, 5 teenagers, they speak in this archaic dialect called English, which, when you think about it, in this movie, the alien language they're speaking is older than English, and yet they call English the archaic language.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so...
So then he starts speaking English, and this one was completely different. The original recruited 5 teenagers, he specifically wanted 5 teenagers. This one hated the idea of having teenagers. He's like, these kids, these are supposed to be the Power Rangers?
Which really makes more sense if you think about it.
Yes, it makes sense, but...
But yeah, and then, like, so they're all like, well, screw this, we're all going home.
Yeah,
but then,
Zordon starts explaining to them.
basically, prep talking, Jason, the last one who just sort of stayed behind for a couple of seconds, or Zordon sort of convinces him, if you don't do this, the world is gonna die.
He explains,
so
explains to all 5 of them.
we need you.
Yeah, he explains to all 5 of them about Rita, and then he shows all 5 of them basically a flash forward of what would happen if Rita is not stopped, which is basically them standing in
the wreckage of
their city, but also with a bunch of, like, you remember in Transformers 4 where the meteor, like, not the meteor, but the thing hit and it turned the character into a giant metal statue?
Well, this wasn't
it's
so
vapor. No, but they weren't metal. That's not what I'm saying.
This is more similar to, basically
when
they're
a volcano hits, it's all the people were standing around him were in what happens when a volcano hits, when they get frozen in place and covered in ash, but they're dead.
Well, yeah, also very similar to a scene in Terminator 2 with the nuclear bomb. But anyway, regardless, that's irrelevant.
But
yeah, very creepy, disturbing nightmare scene.
Yeah, and then Rita grabs each of them by the neck and starts basically poisoning them, like killing them.
Yeah.
But then they cut and back to the command center, like, what? Why would you show us that? And Zordon's like, that is the future.
Yeah, so...
Now become Power Rangers, damn it! And you put way too much influence on, like, morphing. Like, that's all he was obsessed about, was, you people have to morph!
They explained why that was later.
Yes, but at this point, because morphing is just how they gain their powers in here. It's just like, yeah, we morph, okay? We morph in the battle, basically. Molecular transmutation, as Billy would like to call it in the original show.
Yeah.
This wasn't in the movie, but in one of the episodes back in the TV show, he had to fight by himself. So instead of it's morphing time, he's like, it's time for molecular transmutation. But so they decide to leave, like all of them, and Jason's the last to leave.
Yeah, and Zordon convinces them that if you guys don't do this, everyone's gonna die. So we need you.
Yeah, so they get back to the room that's below the water.
Yeah.
And then they're all standing there and like, okay, we have to come back. And Jason starts acting like a leader slightly. He's like, I'm gonna be back here at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Whether you guys are here or not is up to you.
Yeah.
But and then he cuts back to school, and then like showing shots of each of the Rangers, like where they go. Like Zach goes home to his mom, who's sick, and he's basically her caregiver.
Yeah.
Giving her medicine, and she obviously wants the best for him. She's like,
You're doing the most of the talking.
I know.
Today.
It's kind of
tired. That's all.
It's kind of a movie where of course I would, but
she's tired.
She cares about him, so she's like, "Are you going to school? Like you were out late." Like, she's obviously like a caring mother, and like it's showing us a lot of backstory on the characters, like Trini, and then it cuts to Trini with her family, and her mother is constantly asking her 1,000 questions, like, "Where were you? Were you with friends? Do you have any friends? What is wrong with you?" And her father's like, "Honey, please calm down. You're asking her 1,000 questions before she even has a chance to answer the first one." And she has the best response. She's like, four friends and I went to a mine. I think I'm a superhero now. And her mom's ridiculous. She's like, pee in this cup. My thought is, where is your drug test? What are you drug testing her for? Like, is there a drug that makes you a superhero? Like,
no, I think it's more likely she was testing, like she assumed that she was taking drugs, and that's why she thought she like a hallucinatory drug. So.
Yeah. But also,
I'm more concerned about she had that ready on hand just to like what kind of a overprotective mom is this where she has like a drug test cup just ready to slam down on a table for her daughter to use. It's
I don't know. It also shows that Trini has 2 other brothers which show up at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But so they decide to go back to the quarry and then they start trying to become Power Rangers. So
Yeah, but
Zordon is banging into their head, you have to morph. Like, his hilarious lines like, shed your human face, only then can you wear your armor. And like, I like how they actually call it armor.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's what it looks more like in this one. They're serious, like, it's not spandex anymore.
Sort of.
I wish we could kind of put that Dr. K line right in here.
Yeah, you'll have to show me that later because I don't.
Linkara's used that.
Okay. Oh right, yeah.
It's not spandex. It's
Oh, not that one. I thought it was like, oh, good. I hope I don't look stupid in this.
Oh no. You could use
Either
that
way.
too. You could use that too. Cause
either
frankly,
way.
my biggest issue is like most of the helmet designs. Like the visors look too big on most of them. Like the Red Ranger looks alright because his looks sort of like his like down the top is like I don't know like markings from like a claw.
No. Anyway, let's keep on with the plot where
So,
like basically
they're at a stalemate.
So
Yeah, they're at a stalemate.
So basically, it's like okay, well then you have to start training without your suits, and it's gonna hurt because
Yes.
we've got
We've got 11 days.
Yeah, and we've
to
got
train before Rita.
Yeah, so basically the danger room, but in a cave.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite like part of it, like just as a section, like the training montage.
Yeah.
'Cause I've been training martial arts for 5 years, so I can really I can really connect to how them like being forced to train, like doing shadow boxing and like trying to
Against
figure out
hologram
strategy.
rock monsters,
Yeah.
which actually can hurt you.
Yes, they're a representation of the putties.
Yeah.
Which is still a ridiculous name, but it's kind of what you have
It's
to
not
go
as ridiculous as Rita Repulsa. Rita part I could buy, but whenever they said Repulsa, I couldn't help but inwardly snicker. I'm like,
But they've also spliced in between this scenes of the police, like scenes of the fishermen finding the dead Rita, and like them calling the cops. So the cop shows up to the boat, and then
I love the horror movie fashion, jump scare with
the fish,
and then suddenly she's like, blah, I kill you.
But I love the interaction between the police officer and Jason Scott's father.
Yeah.
It felt very realistic. It's like, smells bad. Like the police officer's noting the smell, and his dad is the most sarcastic person. He's like, you might want to mark that down. A fishing boat that holds thousands of pounds of dead fish smells pretty bad. Like I love that bit of sarcasm, and he's like, all right, here are the keys.
Yeah. Don't forget to lock up when you leave.
And here are a couple beers in the fridge for you when you're done.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a pretty that'd be pretty awesome, like just doing your job, and then it's like, oh, there are a couple beers in the fridge for you. I'm like, sweet. Like that's like that was a really cool bit of back and forth between those two characters, which and then the police officer dies, so we never get it again.
Yeah, obviously, and then.
But there's also,
of course, Rita Repulsa all throughout the movie when she's trying to regain her powers by basically literally eating gold. Yeah. She's like I swear it's like she's doing a Gollum impression, like my precious.
Yeah, no, that's exactly spot on. Because the power coin basically revived her after 65 million years.
My own, my love.
But she needs gold to build Goldar, because this is the one bit of continuity that I have a slight issue with. Zordon explains that in every planet with habitable life, there's a shard of the Zeo crystal, which is what Rita wants. The thing is, in the original show, the Zeo crystal was a thing, and it was a source of power. It wasn't a source of life. It was what the Rangers, like it was originally kept away from Rita Repulsa's father, so he couldn't capture it. But then it was used to power the Rangers once their Mighty Morphin powers were destroyed, and they became Power Rangers Zeo. They were using it as a source of power, and this like I have a slight issue with them changing that, but it's not big enough to it's not a detriment.
The thing that I noticed about it is that reference you might not get. It's almost like a reference from the third season of Sonic X with the planet eggs. It's basically the same idea that every single life-inhabiting planet has this crystal inside it that allows life to exist on that planet. And like, really, you're doing that one? But whatever.
Yeah. So Rita is building Goldar so he can grab the crystal and she can take over the world! And basically every other world.
Yeah, so...
But that it would also kill all of humanity.
But the thing is, she had to actually get enough gold to build her staff first, and then she could form Goldar. And of course, she formed Goldar from all the gold in the gold mine, which looks to me like more gold than you would be in Fort Knox. So how is there not more security at this still active gold mine?
I don't know. But there's also a funny scene where she walks into a jewelry shop, and she walks right up to the...
It's like, I'm interested in gold.
And then she starts touching the female jewelry, like, behind the desk, like, looking for gold in her teeth, because she killed a couple fishermen for their gold
and
fillings.
A homeless person.
Yeah. No, he was a fisherman, I think.
No, I thought it was a homeless person.
No, she was looking for the gold fillings in his teeth. But she takes the woman's chain, or necklace. Yeah. She melts it on the table and reforms her staff.
No, but before that, even weirder was like when she said, "I'm interested in gold." Like the jeweler, like after obviously pressing the silent alarm, it shows her some examples of like some gold necklaces, and she's like, I mean, it just eats.
Yeah, she's a weird alien, so.
Eats. But it was funny.
Yeah, but it also. Where are we? I'm driving. Yeah, so they're after the training montage, which had some pretty good music. Like the music choices I found were pretty good for a movie with power in it. There was a lot of the songs were based around power. Like Kanye West song with one of the lyrics, "Who's the man to have all that power?"
I'm surprised they didn't use "I got the power."
I'm glad they didn't go that. I'm glad they didn't go that cheesy. Your camera's doing something. Something flashed.
It's fine.
Cut that bit.
Yeah, anyway, so...
And then they go home because Zack, like, Alpha 5 showed them the Zords.
Yeah, and then of course, so
Zack, being the crazy guy, decides, I'm gonna joyride one.
Yeah, and he starts rampaging all around the... And then he almost runs over like a SUV full of
singing nuns.
Yeah, and then but of course since they're all singing and had their music blasting loud, they didn't even notice the giant, you know.
So he stops and then he goes back, like he almost runs all of them over.
Yeah.
He gets out. He's like, "Sorry, that one's on me." And then Jason decides to punch him, and then they start fighting. And then Billy gets in the middle of him and pushes him away.
He starts to morph into the blue.
Yeah, which activates his powers
for only a few seconds.
And you get a perspective shot from Billy's perspective.
Yeah.
And then he's looking down. He looks at his suit because I guess Billy's desire to protect. I don't know. It's his desire to protect or something activated. Like his feeling, his desire to his
keep
friend.
Peace.
Yeah. Activated his powers.
Yeah.
And then it goes away because Zack's trying to touch it. And he's like, "Zack, no touching. Swipe or no swiping."
Yeah, but
And then Zordon's like, "Go home." And Kimberly's like, "But he morphed." And they're like, and Zordon's like, "Do it again." And Billy can't.
Yeah.
And Zordon's like, "All right, none of you can morph. Go home."
So
as they leave,
instead of going home, they decide we're just gonna camp out on top of this, mountain.
But Jason stays behind, and Zordon and Alpha start talking, and we find out the real reason why Zordon needs him to morph is because he's gonna steal that energy to revive his physical body, and he can escape the wall. So the kids have basically been screwed up this whole time, and he just allowed them to stay for his own personal gain. He was never going to let them fight Rita. He was going to be the one who fought Rita because she betrayed him and his original team.
Well, I think it was much more the fact that his original plan was to get them to fight Rita, but he's like, these guys are not good enough. It's gonna take them years, if that, and we don't have the time. So I gotta deal with this myself. Then we'll worry about whether or not they're gonna be worthy to be Power Rangers.
So Jason overhears this, and he gets mad, and he starts ripping into Zordon. And the last thing he said was, "You're as scared as we are," and as he walks away. And basically saying Zordon's a failure too, this is my team. So then they go...
They have a little camp out, and then they start giving more exposition.
Yes, this is where they give more background.
Exposition.
I thought it was done well.
Yeah, no, but yeah. I'm just trying to be entertaining, because I'm barely saying anything in this.
So Zach goes into the backstory we've already described.
Yeah.
About his mom being sick.
And Billy, I think, goes next. He just says, like, I really like country music. That's it. That's my secret. I really like country music.
I don't. I had to work a concert of country music, and as soon as I could, I left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really hate it. It depends on the song. Some of them I'm okay with. Some of them are a little bit annoying, but...
And then Billy talks about his real, like, not missing his father much anymore, so we've already discussed that. And then Trini discusses her backstory, because Kimberly's like, skip me.
Yeah.
She's obviously hiding.
Yeah.
But Trini just talks about her backstory, of her family being too normal.
Very, very funny line. It was...
So she talked about her family being like, they want, like, they're normal, she's the new student.
To be like everyone, and then... And then Zach is like, boy troubles, and she's like, yeah.
And
boy
as
troubles.
sarcastically as possible, she says.
And like,
Zach takes 1 second. He's like, girlfriend troubles.
Yeah.
Which they had no way before that had hinted that Trini was a lesbian. Which I'm kind of glad, because it kept it as subtle as possible, because you don't want that story to be too big.
It kept it normalized.
It gave their group
believable.
Yeah, it gave their group a bit more diversity as well.
Yeah, without making a stereotype.
No, because you have an autistic person and you have
an autistic black person.
Yes, who's not. Yeah.
You have an Asian and you have a lesbian who's also East Indian.
Yeah, I couldn't just. And then you have Jason, who's a white football player, All-American. Good old boy. He's a good old boy.
Merca.
Fuck yeah.
I think Kimberly's white too. She's just brunette. So
yeah, she was a typical high school cheerleader kind of alpha female. Because basically in high school format, as most shows say, the football players are the jocks, the alpha males, and the cheerleaders are their girlfriends, the alpha females. But so that scene ends. They cut to Trini's bedroom, where Rita attacks her.
Yeah. Grabs
her by the throat. She's very scary. Like, she does a very good job of being an actual threat to the Rangers. When the original was just a ridiculous outfit, but she was hiding in her castle, being like controlling everyone, but she wasn't a threat. The Madonna bra.
No, even more than that. It's drill bit. It's just.
Yeah, but this Rita is a lot more of a threat to the Rangers. Like, she could easily kill them all whenever she wanted.
To me, she came across as a very serviceable, typical, superhero. Yeah. Because I've seen a lot scarier villains than that in movies, but, I've seen a lot more scary movies than you.
Yes. So she starts smashing Trini up against the wall.
And basically threatening
her.
You will show me where the Zeo Crystal is, or you will die.
Because earlier in I think in the training montage, Billy geographically mapped out where the Zeo Crystal would be. And the hilarious thing is, it's under a Krispy Kreme, because product placement.
And, and also, of course, as he's sort of thinking his head mapping out, like, all the cars are like he's just walking blindly across the road, looking down at his notepad or whatever, as all the cars are just honking at him because he's jaywalking.
Yeah, so she leaves Trini, because Trini fights back a little. I love how Rita's like, oh, you think you're strong? Nah.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to Jason's room where Kimberly shows up, and Jason's like, "How'd you get in?"
I'm a superhero. Also, you left your window open.
That's just that's the only explanation you could give in that scenario.
I like how they kind of made a wink at the superhero cliches there too, but the thing, the first shot, the way they framed that, they made it look as though almost as though Rita was about to visit him too, but no, it was just Kimberly.
Yeah, that was a good fake out.
Yeah.
So they start talking, and Kimberly gives her backstory on why she was in detention, about the photo she took.
Yeah.
And basically, she had to sit there while I think it was her friend's.
What have I done?
Her friend's dad had to be shown the photo and explain.
Basically, a very "what have I done" moment.
And Jason's like, just because you did a bad thing doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just be the person you want to be.
I was kind of expecting him to bring up the cow thing at that moment, but they never mentioned the cow again.
Because they asked Jason in the campfire scene, "What about you?" And he's like, "Everyone knows who I am."
Yeah.
Like, look at my big like, I'm just the cockiest asshole.
And it's not because I once handled a cow's dick.
No, that was his friend.
I know, but it's not because,
So
they even panned a shot onto the, like, really? This is a PG and you're showing it anyway.
Yes.
Moving on.
But they get a message. They get a text message. Kimberly gets a text message to meet, which we don't see, but it tells them to show up at, I think that's a football arena in town, where all of them show up. And Trini talks about Rita, and she shows the scars from Rita grabbing her neck with her. Oh yeah, there's also that scene in the fight where Rita's like, "You have your suit yet? Want to see mine?" And then she basically transforms into what's left of her Green Ranger armor, which I'm pretty sure is heavily damaged by the asteroid that hit her. Because otherwise she would have a full helmet, like a full Green Ranger helmet and full armor. Because she had, it basically looked like she was a Poison Ivy knockoff. Because like it wasn't plant based, but it looked like this.
Yeah.
It looked like Poison Ivy's Arkham video games outfit, with like but not plant based.
It could have been a lot worse. They could have went with a Green Goblin route.
Yeah.